Hello and welcome to Perspective. An apology, I got distracted in figuring out who I need to talk to today because the people I'm talking to are very well respected in their own fields, and an honor for me to have them on the show. We're talking about capital markets of Pakistan. The past week has been interesting. The Asian markets plunged because there were announcements in the US and the money went to the US, and then the US markets plunged because Asia was doing better. The reason I'm invoking this discussion is because people say that the Pakistani capital markets are like the Wild West. I think every capital market is like the Wild West. The thing is, are the players playing it right or not? Is there a lot of kamikaze action in Pakistan, in the Pakistani capital markets, or is there a science to it? We need to look at that. Another thing, there was a lot of speculation that with the new government, our markets won't do well. There's illegal money, illicit money, which will disappear from the markets, and the markets will plunge. I think time has proven that wrong. So we need to look at what sort of policies the government of Pakistan, the new government of Pakistan, has invoked, which will hopefully sustain the markets, and what to expect. Without wasting any more time, I'd go to my guests. On my right, dear friend, Mr. Ali Abbasi of Abbasi Securities. Thank you very much for taking time out. On my left, great honor, Mr. Farid Alam, who is the CEO of AKD Securities. So thank you very much for being here. And on my far left, Mr. Tariq Hashmi, CEO of a company called Talisman. It's a beautiful name. And I'd start with that name. Please tell us what the company is doing.
Company, I think the core idea of the company was to, since we're going to talk about the capital market, is to take the capital market products and create a reach into the tier 2, tier 3 cities. I think I think we've seen this outreach created in the early post 2005 crisis, or I think before 2005 also. And I think since then, I think post 2008, we saw another crisis, and we've seen these smaller investors shy away from the market. On a larger scale, I think while we've all, from different platforms, we've all tried to create that outreach, we haven't been successful. And so I think we thought that, there was time enough to, to go back and, start afresh and take the capital market to, and when I say tier 2, tier 3 cities, I mean cities like Sakhar, or go to Bahawalpur.
The second tier income group, if I'm mistaken.
And then even this was to Larkana and in the smaller cities like that. The basic premise, I think I think we need to be talking about the economy also. I think post 2010 floods, there was a concept that we saw a paradigm shift in how the wealth was being created, and we saw the wealth migrate from the urban center to the rural center. I think the cotton prices during those 2010 had returned 1,200 rupees. Wheat support prices had gone up. So we saw this huge shift of wealth from the urban to the rural. But unfortunately, what didn't happen was that the market players did not capitalize on that shift. They remained.
So when I said second tier income cities, I stand corrected. Not necessarily second tier anymore, but maybe the attention is second tier.
The attention is second tier.
So you're taking attention over there.
Yeah.
Talisman says strategy execution. Is there strategy to execution? Is this very kamikaze? And then I'd like you to also comment on how this new phase, new government is helping the markets.
I think people like Tariq are doing a great job in reaching out to the people, because as he directly pointed out, he has hit the nail. Because when we talk about financial inclusiveness, in Pakistan there are about 35 million account holders, meaning thereby they have current accounts and savings account. But when it comes to the equity market, that figure is hopeless. So this dismal or this large untapped market, and people like him and others are doing a great job in reaching out to them if they are not coming
No,
to.
when you say accounts, you mean bank account holders?
Yes, depositors,
Right.
about 35 million.
So that's static money.
Yes, I mean, if people have that literacy and the education to open an account,
Good
then
point.
obviously
There's more they can
there's
do.
more they can do with their savings. You don't have to start very large. You can open an account with the brokerage, or even if you don't go through a brokerage house straight away. If you invest through an asset management company through a fund,
Sure.
even then the requirement of the fund is not large enough. We come across a lot of people who argue that Mr. Alam, AKD opening an account, do you open an account with ₹1 million? I said, no, nothing doing with that. How that figure or that amount is really to the capital markets. You don't really try to mix these two things up. You can open an account with not lesser than that and see how it happens,
Sure.
and then go about it. Coming to the political part of the question you put to me, I think the first 100 days of the elections, or more or less the same of the government, have been mixed. I mean, the momentum was already there. I'm just will try to concentrate on capital markets because since I belong to that part, so I think the beginning is not bad. The only thing is that their response is a bit quicker, is quick to address a few things.
Okay.
But having said so, the expectation, as is always the case with third countries like ours and the developing countries, emerging markets, whatever we call them, the expectation is there. And energy focus is perfectly all right. Till such time, the rhetoric, when they were going into elections, they were obviously very lesser number of days that thought they will be able to fix the economy and the energy crisis and this and that. But the reality is a bit tougher.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the challenge, even if not that big, is still being felt by them.
I understand. When there's electioneering, you obviously oversell and overpromise. But even if I may be skeptical about it, I would have to admit things are not as bad, even if it's just perception.
Things,
as bad as they were when we walked into this period.
Actually, when we were approaching elections, a lot of people, including me, were really skeptical as to how things will unfold.
Right.
Since the transition has been so smooth, it's in itself is a very positive thing to have happened to Pakistan.
Probably something we're not used to, maybe.
Yeah, obviously.
Ali, last time you were here, we talked at length about how technology is not being used, how we're not including larger number of people. Since then, I've had a look at your system. It's a fantastic system. You're doing a lot of work. But same question, is a new wave of individual investment going to come into Pakistan? Are our investments going to get bigger, and if not, why?
I think if we're talking about capital markets, I think Tariq Saab's efforts are welcome, and we certainly need efforts like that. But there's a very fundamental challenge. We originally come from Lahore, and Lahore, you have a larger interaction with the rural population, and the rural population is rather well off compared to the same in Karachi, where the interaction is small and the rural population is not as well off either. The issue that we have is we have an undocumented economy. People don't want their wealth to be declared. Even if they had a bank account, the government or the tax authorities don't go and question that money. When it comes to the capital markets, it gets documented, your name can be screened and all of that. Now, that is the challenge as it exists today. My own view is that in this country, and if we look at a very helicopter macroeconomic view, we need tax revenue. So the tax guys are going to get smarter, they're going to get sharper, they're going to go after new money. As they go after new money, there'll be no place for
CNIC number. Everything that you do and there's a huge database, and I think FBR at some point in time in the back had mentioned that they had a list of many thousand people who would be brought into a TaxNet. It's only a matter of time, and I think getting into the tax debate would be another thing. But the point is, if I speak about the period between 2003 and 2005, when I was directly associated with the stock market, and I think those were the early days when the online trading system had just taken shape. I remember that there was, and I'd never heard of this place. There is a place in Balochistan called Mand or Mand. I'm not exactly sure of the name. And I used to have a client there, and I used to when I used to speak to him, I used to ask him, I mean, how are you operating an online account from a place, and it's out in the boondocks. And he said that we have one of those internet towers, and I have access to internet. But he would come into the market, and he would play from places like that. And I think if you go back and look at your own record, the outreach, the same people from far off places, from small places, would come into the capital market. What you're talking about are the fish with a larger holding. And as Farid Saab said that of the 35 million accounts, I think the CDC accounts or the accounts of the brokers are abysmal. I mean, you don't even count anything. We need to inculcate a culture of saving.
Very well said. Of saving or of investing? I think
it's the same thing. I mean, we look at stock market or at least there was a time that we used to look at stock market as a horse race. We would come in the morning and you would have a heap of money in the evening and you'd go out. When we talk about investing in a stock market, we're talking about being owners of or being partners or being shareholders of companies. Now, usually when people start a business, that business is not started for 3 months or 6 months time. You get into a business for a long haul. While we become owners of stocks, we forget that basic principle that businesses are meant to be, long-term partnerships. So now we are looking for a sort of, to make a quick buck. But I think the market has taught to listen to the investors that is not the case. I don't think there is any better form of investment than the equity markets in Pakistan. I mean, in spite of people, you get asked the question that the market is high or the market is low and what is a good time to invest. My answer is that any time is a good time to invest, provided that you're taking a longer view of the market. I mean, as you mentioned in your opening, when you opened the program, that the market was down 2-3% or 4%. We've taken a little beating. My rationale would be that the companies or the shares are on sale right now. I mean, they're available to you at a discount. We go to the shopping center and we look at we want to buy a nice shirt and we say, oh, this product is on a sale, so I'll pick that up.
The downtime is the best time.
That's the best time. But somehow, as Farid Saab said, that the investor psyche is opposite.
So I think the individual, the retail investor gained full bloom with the .com, which became the .bomb, and the Amazons and the whatever. But today, if you look at Apple stock or Google stock, there's phenomenal value in there. So, but the investor has been burnt so bad that they haven't come back really. Pakistan saw the era of electronic retail trading, and it's never really happened again. So, are we going to the 35 odd million you've said bank account holders? Do we expect a new revolution in Pakistan where people would take money out of their hidden pillows and the mattresses they sleep on and actually put them to use? I mean, that's idle money.
Okay. Couple of questions that I need to really take up. But one is that one arrogant view is an arrogant statement. A lot of people have started making the last 3-4 days back or during Ramadan. The question, where else the money will go? That's an arrogant statement, but yes, I have listened to this statement many times. That where else, Mr. Alam, the money will go? Because of amongst the many other
it's not come to you
asset classes. Not about the capital market. The returns. If I just give you calendar year, because that is where my next draw the line will be. In the calendar year 2012, the Karachi Stock Exchange gave a return of 49%.
Which is phenomenal.
49%. And the funds that we and others manage, 2 funds that we manage, the EKD, were ranked the best in Asia and 5th and 4th in the world. Their return was 106%, and
which is phenomenal.
Which is phenomenal. And 88%. The point comes, like Tariq said, that there were people who used to come with money, loaded with money, and they wanted to do is just like commodity trading. It's not buying something and selling straight away. Those who really took their time in deciding what to buy when and hold on to their positions, only they have been able to make money.
Sure.
It has not been a zigzag track. It has been a sloping upward trend. Coming to this next point is that one is that you have to reach out to the investors. The next point for the economy and for us, which at AKD, our passion is to really list more capital to the capital market, because that is what capital markets are all about. If you don't raise fresh capital, if you don't raise long-term capital through the capital market, no matter how buoyant the markets have been, then I am selling to Tariq Saab selling to Ali, and then going onward. It is just a secondary market. If you come up with,
okay, if I may, I need to take a short break. Actually, no, I think we'll skip that. My question: we keep talking of bringing new money into the markets. I know a lot of Pakistanis sitting on the western hemisphere of the world, and they invested hugely in the .com era and they lost. And their money moves into Pakistan in one way, either goes into real estate, only goes into real estate. They buy property and land and just sits there forever. We see these acres and acres of empty land, and we know where that money is. How come that money, or forget the past, how can that money be moved into Pakistani capital markets? Because the kind of returns you're talking about are real. And if you have an educated long-term investment, there's almost a guarantee in Pakistan for money to be made, Ali?
Yeah. Thinking land is relatively easy to understand, right? There's a plot in defense, you buy it, it's on the periphery of the next development level, and, you buy it and it appreciates. Very, very easy to understand. Stocks is a little bit more involved. Not very difficult, very easy, very simple to understand. Like Tariq Saab said, as long as you are able to appreciate that you're becoming a partner in a company, you're taking part of the ownership. If that's the starting point, stocks are not very difficult to understand. But still, we have a very small market, maybe about 550 companies, of which maybe only 100 are being traded at any point in time. So, but still, someone needs to make a decision as to which one of the 100 is he going to invest in, or is she going to invest in. So there's that education thing. The other thing is that people's perceptions of the market are unnecessarily tainted in a very negative way. For example, market has gone from 4,500 in 2008 or 2009 to 22,000, right? In that entire period, right, which is about 8 times return, 8 times increase in capital. When has media covered the stock market? Since January, right? Where the market's only gone up 30-40%. So media has forgotten about the 8 times increase, or 6 times increase, and they've only talked about the 40% increase, right? One thing. Second thing is, when it's talked about, people say, today the market went down 700 points. 700 points it went down. Well, 700 out of 24,000, I won't even blink. When you buy a stock, you're looking at a 30, 40, 50, 100%. That's the return you're looking at, right? 7,000 out of 24,000, I won't even think twice about it.
Points.
Right.
There's a few percentage points.
It's a few percentage points in the grand scheme of things. Yet, a big headline comes. So,
bad news sells better.
It sells brilliantly, but not for the capital market.
And that's where you advertise, in the bad news. with the bad news about you, you would be running your advertising.
I think that Gresham's law specifically applies to the statement you just mentioned. It said that bad money derives good money out of circulation. The same thing applies to the media and to perhaps us, that the bad news derives good news out of circulation.
And bad advertising. With respect. So, like Ali said, what do we expect? What can we do? And do you think Pakistanis or even non-Pakistanis investing in Pakistani capital markets is a viable future? And is that going to help and benefit Pakistan at large?
Oh, absolutely. I think if I may revert back to a point that Ali was making about investment in the property. I think we need to be very clear when we say, I think there is a myth about, how property is a safe investment. It always gives you return. If you look at the last 2-3 years or 4 years or 5 years for that matter, and you pick a property price, and then you also peg that investment to the dollar, the currency to the dollar, and then you see the appreciation in the property and the depreciation in the Pak rupee, you would actually weigh out what percentage you have actually earned.
Instead of rupees, if you kept your numbers in dollars.
In dollars. So, one may, one sees the appreciation in prices, but fails to see the depreciation in the value, pari passu with the dollar. So, it's a myth that property, in some cases, it has done better than the equity. I keep coming back that I think there is no better or no sweeter investment than, investing in Pakistan equity. If you look at the record from 1950s to current, I think this market has persistently outperformed, I think, anywhere global markets that you can compare with. It's one of the most beautiful markets in the world. There was a time prior to 2000.
And that's where the most wealth has been created.
Absolutely, that's where the most wealth has been created also. The point is that we have to, the investor has to understand that. And I would like to quote an example here. I mean, you talk about how the money is coming in. There are two different ways. The money, there's a lot of money here that can be injected into the market, and there's a lot of money outside that can be injected into the market. Expat Pakistanis. I think in the early 50s, Jose Pereira, the gentleman in Chile, had formed the basis of the Chile formed overnight. They decided every employee is going to have a pension plan, for instance. And over a period of time, that pension pool grew so big that, it used to contribute to more than 60% to the Chile's GDP. There are structural reforms that perhaps the government needs to take. There's a lot of work. There's a structural reform that the government needs to take that would inject huge capital into the market. I mean, that capital can be used. We have this one national savings scheme, or that's the only one. So there are avenues available to capital to mobilize that pool from the local sources. And then, of course, there's the expat Pakistanis. The expat Pakistanis who, I think, in the international markets are on their dollars earning next to nothing. Even if you account for the depreciation of the dollar, if you look at, as Farid said, 106% return, and if you take the depreciation on the dollar, these guys had invested in Pakistan would still be taking huge gains in terms of return.
I think the case and the cause of the capital market has not been taken up properly here in Pakistan by us, everybody, including me. So while we say that the markets have done exceptionally well, and there is no doubt about it, markets have done well over a period of time. But if you try to play the market on a trading perspective, then there could be some bad days, good days. But on a sizable or on a longer or medium-term horizon, the capital markets, not only of Pakistan but of the world at large, of the asset classes, the best return has been by the equity markets. So I think this, when a few days back, there was pressure on the currency, a lot of people thought that, like in India, while their currency has been badly hit, a lot of people thought that perhaps the foreigners may be interested in getting out of Pakistan. But like we have taken the case that although the appreciation of the Pak rupee has been reasonably, a bit more than we thought initially, because we're going into the IMF program or things like that, but still, if you are thinking to invest for a year and beyond, and even though the rupee may appreciate, say, 10 to 15%, but if the top lines of the corporations are growing, and so are the bottom line, and you are able to pass on the increase in everything, may it be the salaries, power, and gas, if the ultimate price to the consumer and the affordability of the consumer is still there, which alhamdulillah is there, so I don't see, but in fact inflation is better for the industry. And one more thing which I would like to highlight here, because some of the audience may be interested in knowing, that the price, the industry which was set up when the dollar rupee parity was let's say 40, 50, 60, 70, or less than 105, what is it today, the replacement value of many industries, in fact, almost all the industries, is way beyond what we have that normal historical cost accounting convention. So if I just take example of a cement company,
Right.
XYZ, if the same unit is to be put up now, I'm sure the prices of the land and of the machinery, of the dollar, it will be 5 to 8 times expensive than when it was set up. So if it is doing the same thing, producing cement, and
That's a great advantage.
it's a great advantage. And so any depreciation of the Pakistan currency against the dollar, the positive impact should come to the capital market. I'm not suggesting that the price should go
Okay,
down or up.
there's another aspect of the capital market. Earlier, before the show started, you said flow of capital and confidence in Pakistan. When we talk about investing into industry, when we talk about investing in even property, the law and order situation, the perception, the stand in the way. But capital market investment is pretty much an almost done deal safe investment. Can I say that in Pakistan? Even if I don't want to set up industry, even if I don't want to set up a service shop here, I can still invest in the capital markets.
See, there's two things actually. I mean, I'm almost humbled to be in the company of such experienced finance people. I mean, I don't necessarily.
You're young blood, sir.
The way I explain this to potential people is, say PTV was a listed company and you could buy shares of Pakistan Television today, right? So an investor could go out in the morning, when the market opens, it could buy shares of PTV, right? For whatever amount,
Sure.
10,000 rupees, $1 million, whatever amount they wanted to buy it for. What that investor needs to realize is that right now, all of us and all these people around are working, generating income for him.
Absolutely.
Right? He invests in property, nobody's working for him. He puts his money in a bank, nobody's working for him. So
Dead money. Though.
it's dead money, right? He puts it in gold, nobody's working for him. When he buys a share in PDV, by default, all of us are working for him.
Fair
right?
point.
So what he needs to think is, here's all these intelligent people, working really hard,
Making big bucks.
coming up to midnight, working away for me. How much can I buy their effort for, right? Is that worth my while, right? And if you look at Pakistan economy broadly, it never even hits the Richter scale of being expensive. It has never been expensive. Even the most expensive market in Pakistan has not been expensive internationally, right? So, to Tariq's point earlier on, we're always cheap. We will be cheap in today's market, right? We will be expensive if our index probably went to about 70,000. We might become expensive. Right now, we are at 22,000. So we have a long way to go before we become expensive, right?
There's a huge room to invest and save.
There is a huge room. And yes, of course, markets can go up, markets can go down. I don't control them. You don't control them. Nobody controls them, right? If people want to come and sell shares and the price drops, well, it can drop.
Yeah, but that happens everywhere.
But if PTV price drops tomorrow, does that mean Faisal Qureshi is not going to rock up in the morning or the next evening and do the show? No. He'll be there working.
The effort will go on. Working for the share will go on.
I think he's very well at one. I think one thing that you do need to realize, and I think it's common sense, is that when you buy into a company, there are different, there are different tiers of company. We call some companies blue chip companies, and then there's some, growth companies. And it's the basic concept that what are you investing? Which company are you going to be a partner with? Are you comfortable working only with a blue chip company?
Yeah, may I interrupt? And I'd like you to elaborate more on it. Because unfortunately, historically, and a lot of globally as well, but Pakistan definitely, the perception has been, the education has been given, what you guys are saying today is very different. That, you're buying into a company. You're investing in the people of the company. And globally, when we talk about strategy, if there's news of a CEO changing, share prices go berserk. Whereas here, it's like, buy some case, sell by evening, and make a quick buck. Nobody goes deep. You guys probably do, but people like me on the street, we don't think that when pushed. What you're saying today, I'd like to elaborate more on that, is that people need to come in and buy into companies and teams and people.
That's the basic premise. The basic premise is that particularly when you invest in, the share market,
yeah,
you are becoming owners of that company. I mean, if you ever have an opportunity to attend one of these annual journal meetings of, the ICIs and the Angros of the world, and you should go there. And I have seen people from Karadar and from, they come there, I have 50 shares or I have 100 shares and I want to attend the meeting. And these people will ask the board pertinent questions. Why are you doing this and why this expense head is like that? The idea is that, when we invest into it, and you are actually becoming owner of a company. I mean, you're actually becoming a part owner, number of shares, to what you're investing in. And again, the idea is when coming into the capital market that you either want to buy into a company that regularly pays out profits, or you think that there is a company which is a growth potential. I think that this sector, IT sector, we saw the IT bubble, or the IT companies go up, and the bubble burst. But we have had we have similar success stories in Pakistan, where certain companies from nowhere have multiplied, as they call it 5 baggers or 5 times their prices or 10 times their prices. So, and this is where your relationship with your broker comes in. You need to ask him the pertinent question, because usually people come in and say, okay, give me a tip. What's going to make me a lot of money? That is where, we go wrong.
Exactly. That's mine.
There are two types of markets. One is, we call technical terms, the primary market, and one is the secondary market. In the primary market, what happens is that there are certain layers. One, when you take up a venture, you become a sole proprietor.
Right.
Then if the venture goes well, then you ask a few people to join you. That is called partnership. And then if things go well, you form a joint stock company. And then if the things go good and you want more capital because of economies of scale and everything, you want to go big, then you go to the public and ask them, based on the goodwill and the product that you are producing. Like just the case, Ali took the example of PTV. Let's take the example of Angro Food. When 5 years back, when they came up with this idea, so they wanted a huge capital. So they had to go to the public. Once they went to the bankers and then to the public. So the shares they offered to the public, because of their goodwill and the food sector, was at rupees 25 per share.
Sure.
So when the company raised the capital, that entry, the first layer, is the primary thing. The company got 25 rupees, and if I invested into Angro Food from 2 years, 3 years back at 25, that share, now comes the second part, which is where the economy and we all get benefit. If the company does well, so first the company will employ thousands of people.
Sure.
They will come up with a product or service. Like in the case of this company, they came up with a lot of products we and all consume. And then they hire professionals, like many are. And then when the product is sold, they pay taxes, they pay dividends to people who are investors like me. And on the top of it, if I had invested, and I did invest at 25 rupees, the share price, since the product was good and the management was good, the share price in 2 years went as high as 160 or thereabout. And then, so I think the whole economy gets benefit of the booming market.
So when I had asked the question, if there is investment from Pakistanis out of Pakistan or even non-Pakistanis into the capital markets, there's direct and indirect benefit. So what you're saying is huge indirect benefit.
Yes. One is there that you mobilize new capital. The second is that when the stock market does well, and it has done well, so then the companies which are already listed, they may raise fresh capital by asking their investors that through right issue on premiums, and we have seen a huge cash calls by a lot of companies in every sector. So that is how the buoyant markets of the market
and the multiple. I've got about 5 minutes, and I'd like to comment short of and this is my favorite question every time you meet me. Short of the government doing anything, the government will do what the government will do. I have no control over that. Short of that, what will people like yourselves be doing in the coming weeks, months, maybe a couple of years to take advantage and benefit from all the things we've talked about? Right? How do we increase that investment? How do we educate more people? You said there's a lack of education.
I think there was an effort, and there is an effort going on. As I think Farid made a very, very valid point that any injection into the capital market is actually beneficial to the economy on a larger scale. I think this is it helps everybody.
Sure.
So if you're putting money into stock, you're helping yourself, and then you're also helping the country. So there's an element of patriotism also there.
Well, when you help the country, you're really going to help yourself.
You absolutely going to help yourself. So I think we need to create that. We need to create platform where we need to inform people that need to come back, into the capital market. And I think that negative connotation that's been associated with the market, it's a fallacy. I think this market has done so well for so many years, and people need to go back and put their confidence back into the market. And I think that will basically, barring whatever the government's going to do, if we do our part, I think that every little dollar that we contribute to the market is going to help the economy.
Do we expect a sudden?
I think.
Should we expect an influx in the next?
I think the onus is on us who are in the capital markets, and I believe in empowerment to the people. Empower your consumer, right? In which case, in our case, it's the investor. I just say very simply, ask your broker 3-4 basic questions. What does the company do? How much does it earn? What's the price? What will I get in dividend? Those 4 questions. Buying a stock is no different from going down the road and looking at a grocery store and thinking, I wouldn't mind owning that. What will you ask him? You'll say, how much do you sell? How much profit do you make? And how much can I buy your stock for? Buying a stock is exactly like that. Whether it's TSO,
it's funny that people will ask 4 or 5 different people before buying a phone. Mobile phones are very fashionable. But when you buy stocks, they don't take Ali's advice.
Actually,
we do more research in lawn.
Yeah.
That's a $200 million industry. The point is that fortunately, government of Pakistan is the largest investor into the capital market.
Sure.
And if they put their acts together in a wise way, which during we have seen that thing happening. So the watermark has been high.
Sure.
In the early 2000s, when the market was good, the government of Pakistan very smartly offloaded their shares to the general public at a higher rates and premiums, and we have seen that even from there onward the share prices have moved up. So if the dollar parity and every benefit that common man wants to seek from this government, capital markets have to be a cornerstone in the decision making of the finance minister. So I think if they can play the capital market part well, the dollar rupee parity, like we've seen in the foreign direct investment, the FDIs, and the $7 billion that we earned through privatization, it was just because the markets were doing fine.
Thank you very much, Solid. Take the time out from being here. I have an indirect connection to the capital markets, which in my personal business I actually do technologies for brokers. So I have a bit of an interest and some understanding of what they do. Not much, nothing compared to what these gentlemen here do. But I know one thing. If you look at the international markets, they're probably more dangerous than the Pakistani market. The kind of hand-holding their companies, their brokers, their service providers will give you is much better than somebody sitting in the US at E-Trade and Schwab. Invest in Pakistan. I understand setting up an industry has issues. Opening a business has issues. Investing in capital market investment, as I very well said, buying into a company which has just been doing so phenomenally well over the years is a no-brainer. And there is no risk if you're willing to invest in the long term. Pakistanis in Pakistan, Pakistanis out of Pakistan need to start investing into Pakistan long term. We've played the short wicket or the short pitch for too long. Let's understand this is us, this is our future. Invest in the long. I would invite them, these gentlemen and others from the stock industry. I try my best regularly. So Mr. Ali's complaint the media does not give enough time for capital markets. is dispelled. Thank you very much, sir. Until next time, good night.